Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Tonight's video is very much on trend with what we've been looking at recently over the last maybe couple of months, where I featured some Eurovision performances and we were looking at the use of pitch correction or auto-tune and what's allowed and what isn't allowed and how the qualifying rounds are potentially different rules. We're going to be having a listen to the winning song and the winning performance and voice. It's JJ with Wasted Love, representing Austria, I do believe. And what I love about this performance, I mean, first of all, from the perspective of what we were looking at previously, this is quite clearly a lead vocal, and we don't have vocals on the backing track, and we don't have a lead vocal on the backing track, all that kind of stuff, or harmony vocals that are really high in the mix. So it is great from that standpoint, but also it's the perfect demonstration of just singing how you sing and using your voice to the best of your ability and what your voice does. So there's a link in the description below, as always, if you guys want to watch this through without me interrupting it, analysing it, or listening to the isolated vocal, because we are going to be doing that. Let's have a listen. Okay, right, we do have a backing vocal in there, but it's clearly a backing vocal, not at the same level or overtaking the lead vocal, and it is the harmony line, different note. Anyway, getting into these vocal lines that we're seeing on screen, I have been asked multiple things about this particular performance. So the first thing that I will address is the accuracy that we've got going on here. Of course, it's not pitch corrected, it's not auto-tuned, and it's not post-edited in any way, because this was the final and it's a live performance. So when we're looking at these lines, obviously JJ is really accurate, but it is live, so it means that sometimes we will be on these lines or around these lines, but we won't be on them all the time. So already in this first phrase, we've kind of been between notes and, you know, just sharp here, and then we're absolutely over the line there. And as we come through here, again, kind of a little bit sharp here, in between, we come down, and then, you know, absolutely nailing the B4. And as you can tell, the range that we've got going on here, when I say B4, this is, you can tell that this isn't being belted in chest voice. So it's a B4 that's a light kind of head voice sound. But what's really interesting is when we listen to the voice come down, maybe to the F4. Let's have a listen. You don't want to go under. It's this, the E4, because that that's the E4. But listen to the way that JJ sings it. It's almost like we've got this you down, but as well, you can hear that there's air in there, so it's right, it sounds like it's right at the bottom of this almost falsetto register that he's in. Obviously, you know, my voice is a lot lower than JJ, so you know, but this is what I'm going to be saying in this video about embracing your own voice, because coming down to here, you don't, he will be going into chest voice later on, but it's interesting how he's kept this light coordination, and he hasn't gone, he hasn't gone to that, which is kind of a head voice sound with air. It sounds like it's just a really low falsetto because it's so close to almost breaking apart. Want to go under, so you let me go under. I reach out my... Yeah, you can hear that connection is so delicate. And again, with a natural voice, you're going to get this kind of variation in pitch. And we're still in this same kind of falsetto-y vocal register. You left me in the deep end. I'm drowning in my feelings. So now when we get into the chorus, and by the way, yeah, the camera work, the show that's gone on with this is just great as well. So you can see that in the original video. But what I love about this is we've got this really kind of light sound here. It's kind of like that. There's so much air in there. It's so you're right at the edge of breaking apart. Especially here. But this is the point when we go on. So now we are absolutely where JJ's voice wants to go. It just sounds like it. That now, rather than a light falsetto-y sound, it sounds like a connected head voice that we've got up here. And in this first section, it's almost like he was in kind of second gear or third gear, and his voice didn't really like being down here. But as soon as it's now let free up into where this head voice space is, or where he's accessing these notes, he's just got the ability to lock into this. And when we're actually talking about pitch, one of the questions that I had was, why is he really accurate sometimes and then not accurate in other places? And we will address that. But when he gets into this configuration, he's just super accurate with his pitch. And you can tell the release that you can hear in his voice, that he just loves being in this place, that he's not straining at all to hit these notes. And I know that, you know, a lot of people might not necessarily appreciate that everyone has their own range and everyone has their own voice. And every singer can do things that maybe other singers can't do, you know, and vice versa. And we've all got separate voices where some people can just access very particular chord coordinations and very particular parts of their range like this. You know, we're talking about G sharp 5 here, F sharp 5, C sharp 5. I mean, down here, the low notes in the chorus are notes that are higher than most guys would be singing anyway. You know, that's where they would, you know, hit the top of their range, probably even, you know, around here, maybe A sharp 4, A4, you know, top end of the male tenor range. In chest voice, this is where most guys would be. So we're way above that, but he can just access this coordination. And I would be surprised if this is something that he's learnt to do, because more often than not, with the great singers that I've interviewed on the channel and spoken with in the past, they can just do it. They can just access it. They've got the key to that particular door of their voice, and they can just open the door and walk through it. Whereas lots of other people will listen to this and think, well, I haven't got the key for this door. And I mean, this is the great thing about singing and learning to sing, is that you can appreciate other people's voices, what they can do, but also embrace what you can do. Because I'm going to let this play on, because it works both ways, as we're about to hear. So now we've got this, and we're actually in chest voice down here. You can tell that we've got a lot more chord closure going on. That's light. And he's still in that light place. And now, na, and even here, na, 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 that is still high. You know, if I'm going, for my voice, that is way up there. But for JJ, that is way down there. And you can hear in his voice that his chest voice doesn't really sit in here as comfortably as that kind of head voice space that's like, you know, way an octave higher, pretty much. Yeah, that Obviously for me, because this is now in my territory and I can kind of get these notes in chest voice and kind of blend it with head voice, I can be quite accurate here. But just listening again. I'm floating all alone, still I'm holding on to hope. And yes, clearly down into chest voice there. And when we get to that, na, na, this is the whole point, and really the illusion of singing, and being able to decipher where someone is singing, where their voice sits, and the pitch that they're actually singing. Because listen to JJ here. Oh, still I'm holding on to hope. To hope. When I sing it, it sounds high. Because my voice sits in a different place. It's a lot lower. But when JJ sings it, it sounds like he's almost having to go to hope. I mean, it just shows that I can get the octave below this, that JJ, it sounds like it is a really low note to him. I'm holding on. So I'm holding on. So I'm holding on. Obviously here, this is kind of in my space. So it means that even though, you know, it is still around top end of the male tenor range, those notes I'm quite comfortable with. Going, you know, an octave above that, forget it. I don't have the key to that door of my voice, but I've got the key to an octave lower. But anyway, what I'm trying to point out here is that people might be listening to JJ's voice and thinking that, oh, I want to try and sing up there, or you want to try and emulate another singer, and lots of people fall into this trap of trying to do what another singer can do, but they're doing it just because it's their voice and it's where their voice sits. And it's all about embracing where your voice sits, because your voice might be an octave, 2 octaves below this, but you could sound great in that range. Just as when JJ gets up into his space, you think, oh right, that's where his voice just wants to be. That's where it lives. But anyway, let's listen on. And again, just look at the accuracy that we've got going on here. When JJ's just locked into this particular configuration, which sounds like it's either going to be a head voice sound, or it might be a reinforced falsetto. So he's taken that same falsetto that he had really low down, which sounded like it's almost going to break apart, or at least I say break apart, but more likely connect, so that you go from that really airy sound to then suddenly the chords touching and then it's sounding, you know, a bit like a cow or something like that. When you go, oh, like that, you know, the vocal cords actually come together because the airs disappeared between them. But here, not only is his voice just totally free, but he's really accurate now. So hitting these pitches is a lot easier. So one of the questions that I had was, why is he so much more accurate in places and other places? It's vocal registers, in exactly the same way that if you were singing a comfortable melody in your range and then you had to go down really low, which we have when JJ gets into his chest voice, you might find that you can't quite hit those pitches as accurately because it's not really where your voice wants to be. And happens all the time when you're singing a song that's a little bit too low and you start going, oh, and you're not really hitting any notes because it's too low for your voice. So that's the difference, that everyone will get into that window of where their confident range is and they can start hitting notes. You know, for me, like I demonstrated earlier, would be an octave below the G sharp 5 and the G5. That's where my voice, you know, sits, an octave below this, where it'll be accurate, and here octave higher, really accurate here. Let's listen on. And just to point out that this is a live performance, so is interesting because JJ was, right kind of between notes, actually closer to, I mean, the C6. That's just crazy. But the C6, and right at the end got to the C sharp 6. So it is in there. And I think he now knows that it is in there in terms of getting that pitch. Ooh, what was that going on? And even then, I'm trying to hear a pitch there. So even there, again, listen to it in my voice. That grunt that JJ made is that pitch. It's not like going an octave below, or doing a noise that would be more of a grunt that you would expect. So it's great because we can place exactly where JJ's voice is, because then when you know that he's grunting at that kind of level of pitch, when you start seeing these crazy notes up here, you think, oh, it's starting to make sense as to why his voice can get up so high and be so comfortable, is because his voice is just set up that way that all the things that we would all do an octave lower, he's doing an octave higher. So yeah, really interesting to look at. Yes, and there we have it right at the end. And I was waiting for this C sharp 6 because I said previously that he knows it's in there, but because he was a little bit below, and then right at the end you could see on the pitch monitoring software he just flicked up to it. And it's almost like, because this is a live performance, it's almost like he's used that previous C sharp 6, which is actually a C6, to kind of find his way. That he's thought, oh right, I wasn't there, and you're kind of feeling your way through it. So then at the end, I mean, he's absolutely, spot on, as close as makes no difference. Yeah, I mean, right at the end, that's where you want to leave it. Just here, you can see that we've maintained that pitch so that we were slightly flat and slightly sharp right at the end, which means that the average of this is going to be sounding like just a spot on C sharp 6. And when you get the reverb there as well, it will just carry it into the distance. And yeah, that last note is absolutely spot on. And again, something that happens live, where if you are hitting a really, really high note and it's part of your voice and you can do it, again, it's just finding a way to it. And once you've kind of done it right at the end of the previous version, then JJ's now kind of found that path to it and then produces it faultlessly at the end.
Thank you so much, Europe.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Europe. Yeah, so he's up there with his talking voice. So, I mean, this is something that I've said about Michael Jackson, where I think he could talk a lot lower, but he always had a bit of a head voice sound to it. So that's kind of what he had that in his voice, as JJ has in his voice. Just listening to his talking voice at the end here.
Thank you so much, Europe.
Europe. It isn't thank you so much, Europe. There's no kind of body in there, because that and you can take the body up there a little bit in that sound, but I'd say that for most people, most guys would be an octave below this, like even just when talking. But yeah, but back to that example of Michael Jackson, he would always have that thinner quality to his voice. So you always listen to a voice like this when they're talking. You can, I kind of imagine that, oh right, this particular person is going to have potentially a very high top note that they can hit, because they're already talking in a way that doesn't have, when they're talking, they don't have body in the sound. I mean, there are some singers who, yeah, can hit really high notes and, you know, talk like a baritone would. But yeah, there are some singers like JJ that are just, you know, able to get in that space, and their voice is already living quite high up there anyway. So yeah, when you kind of imagine that a lot of the stuff that is going on is an octave higher, when you bring it down an octave, then it might suit your voice a little bit better. So I think this is the case that with JJ, it's a voice that is rare. It's rare to have a voice that is this high and has access to all these notes right at the top there, especially with this what sounds like, you know, really connected sound up at the top there. But again, really interesting to take a look at this one tonight, because it means that we can appreciate JJ's great voice, but also appreciate that voices come in all different shapes, sizes and ranges, and to embrace what you can do, because that's what JJ is doing. So thank you guys for requesting for me to take a look at this particular performance. Keep those requests coming in the comment section below. As always, let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!